Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining our next session with Linnworks. I'm very excited to introduce Kate Mortensen, a product analyst over at Linnworks, for her session Mastering Peak Season with Smart Order Management. So without further ado, Kate, I will pass the stage over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lindsay. Hey guys, Kate with Linnworks. I'm a product analyst over here. Today we're going to talk about how you guys can start setting up your business for success prior to peak season by mastering order operations and turning what generally feels like chaos into something that's more like competitive advantage. All right, so let's start with some numbers. I like to kind of set the stage here. With these numbers, what they're really showing us is where complexity might already be living within our operation or within our organization. And they really highlight that peak season isn't just about handling more orders, it's also about managing the increase in complexity that comes along with more orders at speed and without losing control or any accuracy. So if we take a look, we have 60% of retailers that sell on 4 or more marketplaces. We already know that an increase in demand is going to multiply your complexity. That's especially true when your order volumes are doubling or even tripling overnight, like in peak. If you add that with multiple marketplaces, you start looking at a big, hairy problem. We have 34% of retailers who say they face issues syncing their inventory across all of their sales channels during peak. That gets even more magnified, and something that could just be a small sync delay ends up turning into hundreds of undersold items, frustrated customers, and negative reviews. Only 36% of retailers believe that they have clear and accurate view of inventory. And so that means that 2 out of 3 retailers are entering peak season almost totally blind. They're guessing at what they can sell and where they might be able to fulfill from. And then as we talk about increase in orders, the other side of that coin is increase in returns, right? Peak season bringing higher return volumes means you're putting even more strain on already stretched teams. So again, I just want to highlight, when we talk about peak season, it's really good to celebrate the growth that we experience, but it's also good to remember that what might already be a complex operation or might be something that's a little bit tricky to manage is only going to be impacted as that volume increases. Right, so peak in practice at Linnworks looks a little bit like this. For our customers, last Black Friday, GMV hit over $61.5 million. That's a 37% jump from the month prior. Across the Black Friday Cyber Monday week, GMV reached nearly 373 million, a 17% increase over the previous year. And on Cyber Monday alone, we saw almost 50 million in GMV. So like I was saying, celebrate the growth. These are awesome numbers. It's really exciting. But they emphasize how much of a major, not just how much of a major selling opportunity this period is, but that there's also going to be added operational strain, more orders, you have more channels you're managing, which means more ways for things to go wrong. So like I kind of have been mentioning, I want you guys to notice how complexity hides within our growth. It eats away at our profits, really diluting all of the hard work that we do over the peak season and beyond. That complexity can sound like human error, where you've applied the wrong postage in a rush and then you have to end up paying double to fix it. Or overselling, where your system shows more stock than you have able to fulfill, which gives more unhappy customers and puts a lot of pressure on your support teams. Unreliable platforms can contribute to the complexity that eats away at things, like a 12-hour Black Friday outage that cost one retailer over $2 million, or manual operations where a 300% surge in orders led to a 25% fulfillment failure rate and significant revenue loss for another business. This all sounds really scary, and is probably why the reason a lot of you guys are here today. But really good news is that a lot of these problems and challenges are preventable and are easily managed. So smart order management is, what that really means is we're automating and optimizing the full order lifecycle. So the order lifecycle starts when a customer clicks buy to when the package arrives in their hand and even beyond. Our data shows that on average, our users are facing about 5 decisions per order. Decisions like which warehouse should they be fulfilling from, or which shipping service to use. Automations help remove the mental burden of all these decisions, which in turn helps cut down errors and speeds up your fulfillment. At Linnworks, our rules engine lets you automatically sort, prioritize, and action against your orders so that your team gets to focus on exceptions rather than every single transaction. 80% of the lower mid-market retailers are supporting multiple order types. Order types like pre-orders, having B2B operations alongside direct-to-consumer, and even drop shipping. Each additional order type is going to require a slightly different fulfillment strategy, which means even more complexity being brought into your operation. With about 22% of merchants saying that complexity is their single biggest challenge, we can start to see how stressful this is for people. Automations can help handle that complexity by applying the right rules to each order type, so you don't have to think about how to manage each order as it comes in. With the rules engine, you can automatically route orders to different warehouses. You can apply bespoke shipping rules and services, or even set a pre-order's dispatch date to ensure that it gets shipped at exactly the right time. All of this without having to get a developer to code it for you. You have the flexibility to change it or add new rules whenever you need to. Oftentimes, as your business is maturing and you're experiencing this scale, your business processes and logic might have to change. All you'd have to do is go into Linnworks and adjust the rules engine to match those business processes without needing to get somebody else involved. Right, so with the rules engine, all of that is happening at the same time that your selling channels and marketplaces are being updated with real-time inventory, which means fewer overselling incidents, faster shipping, and again, better customer satisfaction. At peak season, when volumes spike, this can be the difference between delighting your customers and having them come back, or overwhelming your team and stumbling. So again, let's talk about what that means for us in numbers. 47 million decisions is what the rules engine did in November of last year. That's 47 million chances that we removed. 47 million chances of manual error that we removed through automation. If you take the average amount of time it takes somebody to make a decision, which is roughly 4 seconds, you multiply that by 47 million, and that gives you almost 6 years worth of hours saved in 1 month alone, really, just in November. That means our customers don't have to employ extra staff and instead can reinvest that money and time into their business to scale it and improve customer satisfaction. Another benefit that we've seen from this is oftentimes during peak, that means that you have to hire temporary staff to manage the increase in orders and increase in complexity. Something that can be really challenging for retailers during this time is upskilling or onboarding these temporary staff with processes. If you can codify some of that business logic and these processes into a system, you get to remove having to train somebody to remember these things. That helps them onboard quicker and be productive and effective a lot sooner than it would if they needed to train and learn and remember things. Being able to have it in the rules engine means that stuff is done for you. But beyond just order routing, Linnworks helps in a lot of other really peak critical areas, such as keeping listings accurate across all your channels. One of the things that retailers are having to manage these days is that customers are buying everywhere, right? As you guys know, if you have the same item listed across multiple platforms, you're going to need to keep all of that in sync with various details in stock and inventory and things. What's also really useful in peak is having a single view of stock, so that one source of truth that's updating everything in time. This also means integrating shipping data, integrations within your wider tech stack, so some of your financial systems or accounting systems, as well as maybe point of sale systems, all meant to operate unify your operations into one place. Our platform also empowers global sellers through comprehensive capabilities. billions tracked in GMV, hundreds of marketplaces and carrier integrations, real-time inventory visibility across all channels, and automated shipping and fulfillment. That all rolls together to give us an outcome of streamlined operations with reduced errors and consistent performance during your busiest periods. So far, we've talked about the benefits of automating your operations, but we've only talked about a portion of what's possible. With Linnworks and Shipbob together, you can get faster delivery through distributed inventory, lower shipping costs, and that super awesome improved customer experience. Together, we can help retailers scale faster without also adding the additional overhead, the operational overhead that comes with scale. So now that we kind of know what the landscape looks like, I want to offer you guys just a few tips that we can think about as we're preparing for peak, taking into account some of those nightmares we discussed earlier. So during peak, even small manual tasks like choosing a shipping method can become really overwhelming when you are multiplying those decisions by thousands of orders that come in. Automations keep things consistent and they free up your team to focus on business priorities. If you can automate the task, do so, get it off your plate. Selling on multiple channels means more chances for inaccuracies, which leads to overselling, stock outs just when demand is at its highest. A single source of truth for inventory and product data using a tool like Linnworks makes a huge difference here. And then look at what sold well last year and what didn't, and use that to help guide your buying decisions and promotional strategies. Don't risk guesswork during peak season. One of the simplest and most effective things you can do is to create a clear peak season plan. This means knowing what good looks like for your teams and knowing what to do when it's not looking so good for your teams. If you can, try to test this plan out ahead of time with your team so that everybody feels confident when real demand hits. Which leads really perfectly to my last point. And we could not ask for better timing. So with Prime Day, Target Circle Week, Walmart sales, I think Black Friday's, Best Buy is doing it as well. We are right in the middle of summer sales, which I'm starting to think of as a mini peak season. Use this as testing ground, right? The remainder of the week and for the next couple of days as these sales all happen at the same time, use this as a moment to practice. Apply these tips, work out any kinks in your operation, work out that plan like I talked about, and perfect your processes before real peak season really hits. Thank you guys so much for your time. And if you'd like to learn more, please scan these QR codes on the slide, or you could reach out to Linnworks directly.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kate. It looks like we have time for a quick question in the chat from Sharon. What workflow automations can reduce operational overhead in fulfillment, returns, or customer support?
Yeah, hey, Sharon. I don't want to tell you that depends. It does a little bit, but really, like I said earlier, you really want to start looking for things that you find yourself doing all the time. Repetitive things that can be automated is the first place to start. Once you can get those repetitive things running in the background and you're not maintaining them, that's going to give you time and mental space to look at the things that you don't have to automate all the time, those things that aren't repetitive, your exceptions rather than the rule. Exceptions are also a really great place to install some guardrails through automation that can keep things flowing, right? So just to reiterate, first, what you want to do is look for anything that you can repeat or that you are repeating quite frequently that doesn't need a lot of decision making. Doesn't need a lot of people with input coming in. Automate those first. Secondly, you want to look for where you have exceptions. An easy way to identify exceptions is to find where your bottlenecks are. So look at your order fulfillment process from start to finish. Where do bottlenecks exist within that process? And then start to look to how you can apply an automation to that process. As an example, something that I've seen a lot is when there's picking happening, right? And so you can have a warehouse that's picking things in bulk. And so they pick all at one time and then they go over to shipping. Or you have warehouses that pick things one at a time. In either of these scenarios, however your operation functions, both of those are going to create bottlenecks between when picking happens and when shipping happens. there's a way to automate that flow through operations and through automations. Whether it's dividing work between types of orders, so if it's like multiple line orders or really heavy orders, just dividing how that work gets segmented throughout the day, or using automations to have some orders go to the side because they're not your priority right now, and getting your high priorities up to the top. Those are just some examples that I think you could look for.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Kate. We really appreciate your time today. If you have any questions, head over to the Linnworks virtual booth. Yeah, and otherwise, we'll see you all in the next session. Thanks so much, Kate.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.